So we have on the show lots of different folks, including my webmaster, Melih Oztalay,
Hey
who is going to
guys.
be talking about, I'll get it correct here, put my glasses back on here. It's going to be you're going to be talking about conversion rate optimization. Is that correct?
You got it.
Okay, cool. So let's start in then, Melih. Let's define that term. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with it because I work with you, but others may not be.
Guys, I've been on your show multiple times. We've talked about a lot of things, digital marketing in a variety of different ways. What we're talking about today is nothing new in theory. The idea of why doesn't a website visitor convert into a lead or a sale that question's been out there for years. There's nothing new. I think what's changed, let's say, in the last 3 years are the tools that are available to understand why. Let me revisit. The tools that are available to answer the question of why. So this process has become a discipline. It has become a science because these new tools exist in the last let's just say 3 years to be safe. You might be able to go back 5 years, but nonetheless, the conversion rate optimization is about converting people on your website into a lead or a sale. If they don't convert, why are they not converting is the question that you have to answer. And my take on this, especially as we've built this discipline, this marketing process into something professional in the last 2 years, is that don't spend another dime on marketing or advertising for that matter until you fixed the problem on your website. Why are they not becoming a lead? Why are they not adding their name to your newsletter? Why they're not contacting you on a form? Why they're not calling you on the phone? Why are they not making a sale? Whatever the case, whatever the action is, whatever that that end result is that you're looking to get from these people that are visiting your website, let's stop the dollars on marketing until we've answered this question. Now, like I said, up until about the last 2 or 3 years, you might have said, well, I've got a team that's doing this and my ad agency is doing this and so on and so forth. And yeah, believe me, I can go back 10 years ago and we were trying to answer the same question for a lot of our projects as well. But without the right tools, you don't have an answer. And so, yeah, you could go back 10 years ago and say, yep, we had Google Analytics, no problem. Hey, you know what? We've been working with Google Analytics for a long time. But even Google Analytics has changed. I mean, it has matured and evolved into so many different elements and capabilities that you needed this 10 years ago in order to answer the question. So when we talk about conversion rate optimization, we have to understand that, in fact, it's matured and has turned into a science that businesses need to take more seriously.
And let me just leap in because I know this answer, and then I'll let you go, Matt. And you were mentioning to me, your company, SmartFinds Marketing, has actually begun a 60-day campaign. I think it is. You said to really move this forward.
Yeah, we've actually started back on June 1st. We were trying to kind of get the word out, so to speak, about businesses taking this more seriously. In other words, hey, stop your marketing and advertising for 90 days. Believe me, it's not going to hurt you. And figure out if you can get your conversions in line with what you're expecting for your business. And there's a variety of ways that you can measure this. The basic is Google Analytics has something called a bounce rate, meaning somebody goes to one page of your website. Whether they spend 5 seconds or 5 minutes on that page, it doesn't make a difference. If they don't go to a second page within your website, they're considered a bounce. So what we're saying in this case is if your bounce rate is, let's say, 30% or more, which most businesses are, then we need to figure out how to reduce that down to that 30th percentile level. Look at your calls to action, your design, your layout. What is it that you're asking people to do? Are you giving them a directive? to go in a specific direction. So they go from the home page to an information page to a contact page, or what is it that you want them to do? And there's a variety of ways to analyze that, understand it, implement it, do A/B testing, use artificial intelligence tools to be able to track the results and understand what your website visitor's journey is all about. There's a variety of things that we can do nowadays, and I think that it's worth fixing the website before you spend more dollars on advertising.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is that's fine to ask that question, but how does one go about answering it? And how do you sort of quantify what those answers are?
Right. So I think you have to find a starting point. So the step number one is, you do a 30-day analysis of what's going on within the website before you make any changes. We collaborate with the client. Okay, here's what we found. This is what we understand. Is this true? Get their feedback about what's right, what's wrong. In that process, you also identify what are the key conversion web pages. Now, within the website, there's certain web pages that they find most important that's going to generate a sale or a lead. And so, okay, let's take a look at those, analyze that, review that together with the client, go through that process. And once we understand what we're going to change, then we go into the making the changes. The changes are going to include adding certain tools to the website. So an artificial intelligence tool, A/B testing tools, and then be able to go from there to testing different scenarios out. The testing process, which definitely happens in the next 30 days, takes time, unfortunately. I mean, you got to gather data. You can't just base it on one more visitor or two more visitors. You need 10, 20, 100 more visitors to figure out whether this is all heading in the right direction. And so then what you do is you take Google Analytics, you take Google Search Console, you take your AI tool and its reports, you take the A/B testing tool, which has separate reports, you combine all of this to understand whether this is working or not. If it is, great. Now let's pile in a few more dollars into marketing, drive more traffic. Or the answer is, well, this isn't quite working to the level we want. Based on the results, what are the changes that should we make? And that's the process that you go through. And it'll take roughly 120 days or so to go from step one to to the end of the process to get the website to be more effective.
And so
but we have all the reports.
Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit. I know you sent me some numbers. You're offering this service for a certain rate, and certain things will happen. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So what we're doing to help businesses kind of come up to speed on this, and I realize this is not going to be for all businesses, and believe me, that's okay, because this is a labor-intensive process at the end of the day. While we're using an AI tool and an A/B testing tool at the end of the day, you have human beings having to develop creative, make changes to web pages, implement whatever ifs, ands, and buts are necessary to make this all happen. So we have a program that's $2,500 a month for 4 months, basically $10,000 to get the website working the way it should, to generate more leads. And our recommendation is stop your marketing activities until we fix this. Now, if you're asking me, hey, if I stop my marketing, I'm not going to get any website traffic, and that's not true. You got a whole bunch of traffic coming to your website from Google, and it's free. So let's take a look at what Google is sending us and use those website visitors to work through the process of correcting the website. And in most cases, this should be able to, the cost of what we're offering compared to the cost of what you're spending should either be 1-to-1, or our program is probably going to help save you money over those 4 months.
Okay. So is there a size limit on businesses that you're looking to do this for? I mean, you look for very small, like individual type businesses up to large businesses. What have most of the client sizes been like for you?
I mean, I think you would agree that we're looking at mid to large companies, right? I mean, in terms of revenue, I'm not talking about employee size or so on and so forth. I'm looking at revenue, and I'm saying that even a 10-man operation, generating let's say $5-10 million probably needs this, especially when they're constantly looking for new leads, new sales, new everything. It's going to be based on your revenue, and if you're looking at $5 million on up, then I think this program is probably ideal for you. So I'm not going to go into whether the size of the business in terms of in terms of the capacities or their employees and so on and so forth. Let's just say that let's base it on their revenue. 5 million or more should do the trick.
Now, we've been talking a lot about, well, you and I personally have been talking about working with auto dealers in the past. Is this something that would work, say, for an auto dealer?
I mean, I think to answer your question, yes, absolutely, it would work. But here's my caveat. Most of the auto dealership websites have now been funneled into large companies that do auto dealership websites. And, you got your Dealer Inspireds and your Coxes and so on and so forth that are all involved in this. And theoretically, they are or should be doing this already. To what level they're doing is another story. My guess is we're a little bit more detailed. We're probably a little bit more effective in that area. These guys are doing mass productions, CRO services across, thousands of dealerships. It depends on the dealership and or the dealership group. That might be a better way to approach this to figure out whether or not, they could use us. However, my gut feel is we're going to be in competition with their website developers that are these massive companies that are doing mass production, everything for them. It may or may not work. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't mind jumping into a car dealership program, to be able to do our CRO program and really understand what's behind the nuts and bolts of this. But like I said, in some cases, it may not be there.
Matt?
All right. So what was the development of this program like for you? What was sort of what inspired you to create this program?
I think the inspiration came from a couple of different sources. Number one is the fact that, we've been in business for 37 years. We've had the internet group for roughly 30 years now, or somewhere in that neighborhood. And we're constantly having to manage changes in technology and digital marketing and the internet, so on and so forth. We're constantly having to review data, analyze data, and more importantly, interpret data, and more importantly, doing all that across multiple data points, not just a single data point. So this research process is never ending. And so we got to the point where, we know what we're doing here, but do we have the tools to do it? And so the tools started to come to the market roughly about 3 years ago. Then it was a matter of testing all these tools. Do they work? Don't they work? Are they part of hype or are they real? You kind of have to go through that process for your client. And from that process, we were able to develop a professional marketing tool that I think will help businesses with what we call conversion rate optimization.
All right, running low on time, and I know you got another meeting coming up yourself. So, folks, you got them all lathered up. They want to reach out to you. How do they do that?
First of all, jump onto our website, SmartFindsMarketing.com. That's number one. Number two is you can reach me on LinkedIn under Melih Oztalay, Melih, and my last name Oztalay, O-Z as in zebra, T as in Tom, A-L-A-Y. I'm all over LinkedIn, so shouldn't be hard to find me there.